Welcome to Ermagerd the Kerr, where I, in my great and unmatched wisdom, discuss whatever car-related subject that I want to, which most of the time is ranting about new cars that car guys like to rant about, even though they would never buy or can't afford to buy a new car in the first place, because they waste $1,000 a month keeping their worthless project car on the road. But since they don't have a car payment, they're somehow smarter than someone who would pony up the $399 a month lease payment on this beauty. Oh God! Maybe I should warn you this video is going to have some graphic content because these photos are probably going to assault your eyes. Brace yourself. This is the all-new BMW 2 Series coming to the USA as the 228i and the M235i. And compared to BMW's other recent design changes, the more I look at it, I guess it's not the ugliest car in their lineup by far. At least the kidney grills are somewhat proportional, which BMW keeps growing on all of their cars, despite everyone in the world screaming at them to stop. Stop it! Stop, for the love of God! Stop making the grill so big! But I'm not really mad at the grill thing because it is funny. Who would have thought we would ever be longing for the bangle butt era of BMW, but here we are. I'm also not mad at the fact that this new BMW is a front-wheel drive based car based on the Mini Cooper. I'm actually kind of surprised BMW didn't do this sooner, as Mercedes had a runaway success with their cheap front-wheel drive based CLA platform, now, despite the quality and the ride and performance being terrible. The new generation of CLA has improved the quality a lot, but it's still not any more special than a Toyota Camry, and the CLA starts at $36,000. But since it has a Mercedes badge, people will line up to lease it. This, the 228i, which, speaking of Toyota, looks like a certain Toyota a lot from the rear. I know, this 2 Series comes standard with X-Drive all-wheel drive at least, even though it costs the same as a CLA, so I guess that's a plus, a little edge over the Mercedes. Not having a manual transmission option, despite being from the brand of the ultimate driving machine, isn't bothering me either. I'm not that guy usually when it comes to manuals. I know it's archaic and not as good as a modern dual clutch, and we still have plenty of option for manuals. A real enthusiast wouldn't buy one of these new 2 Series anyway, as they would opt for the Golf R or Civic R if they want a 4-door with a stick, which both cost about the same as the cheapest new 2 Series. It has a lot more power, performs a lot better. There you go. You could also go for the M2 Coupe. This is where things get confusing. This new 2 Series will coexist for a while with the rear-wheel drive cars, at least for now. Right alongside these things, despite having different engines, different everything, they will all be known as 2 Series together. Now, we all know that the numbers don't matter anymore with Mercedes or BMW. The numbers and letters used to designate the models, which they still kind of do, but the number afterwards used to denote the engine displacement. Kind of. Now it means nothing, like whose line is it anyway? Everything is made up and the points don't matter. Recently, I was shopping for a new car for my wife, and I lamented to the salesman about how I never really bothered to learn the models of the new Mercedes and BMW because of this. And he said this was done because their lease customers didn't want their numbers to go down when they switched to a newer model. With big V8s and V6 dying in favor of smaller, more powerful turbocharged engines, customers were actually mad that their Mercedes E320 or E350 became an E300, like they were getting a lesser car. But while all this confusion about badges does make me a little mad, well, okay, really mad, I've moved on with my life. I just don't bother knowing what new BMWs and Mercedes are called anymore. What really makes me mad, and it's not like it's a new thing, but BMW is one of the biggest offenders, is they call this front-wheel drive based ugly 4-door thing a coupe. BMW has a 4 Series Grand Coupe, along with an 8 Series Grand Coupe, a 6 Series Gran Turismo Coupe that they discontinued, and various X Series over the years. They call these sedans coupes because of the sporty-looking coupe rear roofline. This new 2 Series Coupe is especially offensive to me because it doesn't even have a sporty coupe-looking rear roofline at all. It looks similar to an Acura ILX or a Honda Civic. Neither does the Mercedes CLA, well, maybe a little bit more, but they still call it a coupe. Now, Mercedes was the first to do this that I can remember in my lifetime back in 2004 with the first CLS. I remember sitting in the back of one when it was new, brand new at the dealership, and I didn't fit because of the roof line, and wondered why they even bothered making it. A four-door with a weird coupe roof line that didn't look that great. It looked okay, but they still called it a coupe. Why? Now, I've Googled around a little bit trying to figure out why automakers started calling four-door cars coupe, and maybe I'm not a very good researcher because I didn't come up with much. But the only attempt to justify this definition of coupe that I found was on some Mercedes dealer's website quoting the Society of Automotive Engineers. I bet they throw some wild parties there. Show me your CAD drawings and I'll show you mine. Anyway, this Society of Engineers supposedly define a coupe as being a car that has an interior space of less than 33 cubic feet, while a sedan is equal to or greater than 33 cubic feet. What? I would hope those giant SUVs that BMW sells as coupes have more interior space than that, but by that definition, on that Mercedes dealer's website, pretty much any small four-door car with a trunk is a coupe. We should all be calling Civics coupes and Yaris's coupes and Sentra's coupes as well. It's stupid. Really, BMW, Mercedes, you just need to stop. Stop. You guys are already confusing enough with your model badging, styling choices, and schizophrenic lineup of cars that throws any kind of brand conformity out the window, which is something German car enthusiasts look back upon fondly. They miss it so much. Seriously, come up with your own name that doesn't mean two doors. BMW went even further in the past to call these sedans and SUVs Gran Turismo coupes, even though it was never put on something that could ever be considered a grand touring car. Nuh-uh. Now, Ford, if you look back, Ford called their Mustang with a fancy roofline a fastback back in 1965. Nash called it an Airflight back in the 1940s. Bugatti, the Atalante in the 1930s, just to give a few examples that make me seem highbrow. Now, Mercedes, BMW, I know it's really hard for you guys to come up with names of things as you can't even do letters and numbers that make sense, but call it something other than a coupe. The Kia Stinger, which is cheaper, faster, and much better looking than these cars, is referred to by Kia as a sedan or a liftback. But if you're a German car snob and a Kia won't do, the best looking four-door car with a swoopy roofline in the rear is certainly the Audi S7, and they call it simply a Sportback. I'm sure if you ask them really nicely, you could use the term Sportback too. Just ask them. Thankfully, BMW does still make a coupe that I will buy, the M2, that still has a manual transmission. Mercedes has the AMG GT as well, which is the most beautiful coupe being made today, in my opinion. One of those cars will be in my garage someday back here when they depreciate enough to become neglected basket cases, and I make an idiot of myself buying the cheapest example of which, and my mechanic will finally get his luxury yacht that he's always dreamed of with the repair bills. Now, I'm getting off track here, but what I mean is both companies know exactly what a coupe is. They make them. This coupey roofline thing is getting thrown around way too loosely, and this latest example from BMW doesn't even look like a coupe. It doesn't. And I hate to go there, but their older iterations of their Gran Turismo coupes, it looks more like something else. Yeah, that. Thank you for watching Ermiger the Cur.